In Far Cry 3, you play as Jason Brody, a young man on a quest to save his brother while stranded on an island full of pirates. I want to start by saying that I know a lot of you played Far Cry 2 and didn't like it, but there's also a small clique of people who really loved Far Cry 2. And thankfully, Far Cry 3 takes the good of Far Cry 2 and expands upon it immensely. I'll just come out and say that Far Cry 3 is a blast. There's so much to see and do, and it's just such a fun game that I can only equate to something like Just Cause 2, as in open world tropical island exploring and killing. Far Cry 3 is, of course, if you don't know, a first-person shooter, and it's very different than your standard first-person shooter. While yes, there's guns, you upgrade the guns, which is fun, and you shoot a lot of people in this game. There's an emphasis on exploration and stealth and just primal hunting and doing cool things that is very unique to Far Cry. It's something that hasn't been done this well in a first-person shooter, I think, in quite a while. Far Cry 3 is an open-world experience, and the map is huge. It's like a cluster of islands, tropical islands, that are managed to be pretty varied in terms of what they look like, packed with tons of things to do. There is an incredible amount of things to see. I feel like every few feet you stumble across a new ruin or a new village or a Bengal tiger ready to kill you. It gives you a lot of things to do, but at the same time, all of the things you do are a little bit shallow, and kind of after a while, once you've seen one, you've seen them all. So it's not as exciting for exploring as, say, I don't know, Skyrim or even Just Cause 2, but it just looks great, and there is a lot of fun to be had in it besides the missions. Now, the main missions are very story-based, very based around a core group of characters who are fantastic. The only characters I really want to touch upon are like the main two. Vaas, the villain, who is written in such an unlikable way. He's such a terrible person, but at the same time, whoever voice acted him is incredible. It's probably one of the best well-voice acted characters in the last year I could think of, and I had a blast just seeing what he would do next. And the main character is also pretty fascinating, Jason Brody, who is a young guy who, strangely enough, in the character profile looks exactly like James Franco. I don't know who did that, but he's basically kind of like a young, kind of bro type of guy who went on this, island getaway with his friends who ended up getting kidnapped. Throughout the game, to save his friends, he becomes basically a tribal warrior, and he finds himself. He learns to be not just a wimp, but a badass. And it's really interesting through the game. You have a level up screen and you pick different unlocked abilities, and every time you unlock ability and essentially level up, you get different tribal tattoos on your arm. And that might sound really kind of bro-y, but it's really cool, and it's a really interesting way to see your progression through the game through tattoos on your arm. There are tons of upgrades to be had, like running faster, swimming faster, being able to stealth kill people, all kinds of different things that just make you a better warrior and in turn make Jason a much cooler guy. It's basically the story of how a dorky guy, not dorky, but just a regular guy becomes Rambo. And while the story does focus on that, I feel like towards the end it cuts that short, and towards the end the story kind of loses its oomph. But it was still a pretty fun ride. Aside from the well-written characters, the island is the biggest star of Far Cry 3. The graphics are incredible running on the CryEngine 3. You can see for miles, at least on PC. On Xbox and PS3, it looks very competent, but on PC, it is a sight to behold. Bright colors pop, in a time where there's just so many games that are just gray and muddy and brown, and the jungle of Far Cry 3 is incredible, and it really gives you a lot of variety and an incredible draw distance, and it was such a blast to just look at the game, and that goes a long way. I know, graphics aren't everything, but for a game like Far Cry 3, it certainly does help it quite a bit. Far Cry 3 is a really long game, and like I said, a lot of it is to wandering around and hunting and just finding things, and it's a blast. Hunting is something that I did not think I would like, that I turned out to really enjoy. You just wander around, and there are tons of different animals to see and kill and poach, including tigers, panthers, and pigs, and just, capybaras, and just very simple animals, but it's terrifying when almost you're being hunted as you're hunting. It is terrifying to hear the growl of a leopard knowing it's coming towards you. I've actually had more jump scares in this game than any horror game I've played this year. I'd be wandering across the river, you know, strolling along looking for someone to shoot or whatever I was doing, and all of a sudden an alligator just rips me into the water. And it's terrifying, and you have to, you know, fight your way out of the clutches of the alligator. It's incredible, and that alone is just a really unique and awesome experience. While there are parts to the game world, it still feels very much alive because of those animals and because of all the really cool NPCs that you encounter. People aren't going to like that there are long stretches of traveling to get from one area to the next to unlock fast travel, and that's done through kind of clunky first-person controls of vehicles. However, you can ride a jet ski, and that is a lot of fun, and you can also ride a hang glider, paraglide thing, and just glide across basically a lot of the map, and it's a blast to do. There's also vehicles like Jeeps and quads and stuff, which are kind of goofy to control in first person, but they feel good enough, they feel real enough that it's fun. Of course, it controls great with shooting and melee feeling incredibly tight, and you're able to pull off awesome things in a very satisfying manner throughout the game. The game has a ton of great moments that I don't want to spoil, but it does a very good job of straddling the line between kind of like a very gritty, brutal reality of pirates and terrorists and stuff, and then also kind of the fantastical element of hunting animals and paragliding over a mountain and all stuff like that. It's just very out there, but at the same time, it's so refreshing, and I had a blast with it. Like I said, there are some low points in the story and some boring missions, and after a while, you have seen and done everything that is offered to you already on the map, that you don't have as much incentive to do it. That being said, though, as a whole, the single player is a great experience. Multiplayer, on the other hand, while not striving for as much innovation, the competitive multiplayer is essentially Call of Duty in the jungle. You're going to hear that a lot, but it's actually probably its biggest compliment. You know, it's very standard team-based shooting, but in a jungle setting, and I really enjoyed it. I don't see it catching on as well as, you know, Call of Duty or anything like that. But like Medal of Honor Warfare, which I trashed, it had a multiplayer mode that is competent, it does it right, and, you know, it's there. You can play it if you want to. 4-player co-op, while I only touched upon briefly, did prove very interesting. You play as 4 different standalone characters with their own story, and you go through it with your friends. It was pretty nice to see that Ubisoft took the extra time and effort to add this whole extra chunk into the game, and for that alone, you know, with all this whole package is worth your money. So that is Far Cry 3. While I praised it and I loved it, it's certainly not for everyone, and it does have its low points, like I said, but overall, it's a pretty good bang for your buck. So let me know what you're doing in the world of Far Cry 3. Are you hunting? What animals are you hunting? What do you fear the most in the world of Far Cry 3? Are you having a blast playing it? Let us know, and that's pretty much it.